My cheating husband, Xander, thought he could outsmart me, a lawyer. He was wrong. This is a long one, so grab a snack and settle in. I need to share my story, not just for catharsis but also as a cautionary tale. My ex-husband, Xander, thought he was untouchable. He thought he could cheat on me, insult me, and walk away unscathed. He was wrong. Dead wrong. Let's start from the beginning. Or rather, the middle. The beginning of our relationship isn't relevant to this story. Just suffice it to say, we were married for over a decade. I'm a lawyer, a fairly prominent one in my state. Anonymity is crucial for obvious reasons. Xander, my ex, is a businessman. He always made more money than me, a fact he never let me forget. He'd constantly downplay my career, calling my cases pointless, and implying that my income somehow made me less valuable. The signs of his affair were subtle at first. Increased avoidance, longer hours at work, more frequent business trips. He'd always been a bit distant, but it gradually intensified. He'd brush off my concerns, telling me I was being insecure. I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells, constantly second-guessing myself and my instincts. The nagging feeling in my gut grew stronger with each passing day. Something was definitely wrong. Then came the business trip that changed everything. He was gone for a week, supposedly closing a major deal. He was distant and evasive during our phone calls, claiming he was too busy to talk. My gut screamed at me that something was amiss. While he was away, I decided to snoop. I know, not my proudest moment, but the anxiety and uncertainty were eating me alive. I found his old laptop, the one he claimed was broken. Something compelled me to try turning it on. Lo and behold, it worked. And that's where I found it, his secret Facebook account. My heart sank as I scrolled through his profile. Picture after picture of him with another woman. A beautiful woman. They were on vacations together, at romantic dinners, sharing intimate moments. The captions were filled with sickeningly sweet declarations of love and plans for a future together. He even had the audacity to criticize my appearance in some of the comments, comparing me unfavorably to his new girlfriend. The betrayal cut deep. It wasn't just the affair itself, but the casual cruelty of his words, the complete disregard for my feelings. I printed out pages of evidence, pictures, messages, everything. I needed tangible proof. When he returned, I confronted him. "Xander, are you cheating on me?" I asked, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. I placed the stack of printouts on the table between us. He didn't even flinch. "Sophia," he said with a sigh, "you're just not that interesting anymore. You're always engrossed in those pointless cases, neglecting me." He then added, as if it were an afterthought, "Besides, you're not a supermodel." I was stunned, not just by the confirmation of my suspicions, but by his complete lack of remorse. "What are you talking about, Xander? I have a demanding job, and you knew that when we married. I haven't neglected you. It's you who has been distant and withdrawn." "Well," he said, a smug look spreading across his face, "good that you found out. I'm relieved, actually. Now I don't have to hide it anymore." He continued, his voice dripping with condescension. "She and I are going to have a wonderful life together, once I'm free from this inconvenience." He called our marriage an inconvenience. 10 years of my life, of love, support, and unwavering loyalty, dismissed as an inconvenience. He went on to insult my looks, my career, my everything. He said I wasn't worthy of him now that he was a successful businessman. He told me I should be grateful he was even with me for so long. The arrogance was breathtaking. He then told me he'd already filed for divorce and that I should move out. He didn't want to see my ugly face in his house anymore. A few hours later, his friend arrived with the divorce papers. The friend looked at me with a mixture of pity and awkwardness. I signed the papers, numb with shock and disbelief. I closed the door, leaned against it, and finally let the tears flow. I cried for hours, mourning the loss of the life I thought I had, the future I had envisioned. But amidst the heartbreak, a flicker of anger ignited within me. I wouldn't let him get away with this. I wouldn't let him break me. The next morning, A sliver of hope emerged from the wreckage of my emotions. I remembered the prenuptial agreement. Xander, in his arrogance, had insisted on a clause stating that if he cheated, I was entitled to half of his business. He thought he was protecting himself, but in his infidelity, he had handed me the key to my revenge. I called his lawyer, Jake, and scheduled a meeting. Jake was clearly expecting a distraught, defeated housewife. He was in for a rude awakening. When I walked into that cafe, impeccably dressed and radiating confidence, his jaw dropped. He stammered, apologized, and clearly hadn't realized I was the Sophia, maiden name, a legal powerhouse in our city. Xander, in his infinite wisdom, hadn't bothered to tell him. I calmly explained the situation, presenting him with irrefutable evidence of Xander's affair and a copy of our prenuptial agreement. Jake was speechless. He realized he'd been played by his own client. He knew he couldn't win this case, not against me. He practically admitted he was dropping Xander as a client right then and there. Xander called me furious the next day. He accused me of sabotaging him. I told him it was his own lies and deception that had cost him his lawyer. He then, incredibly, begged me to reconsider taking half of his company. He even suggested we give our marriage another try. He claimed he'd ended things with his mistress. It was pathetic. I knew he was only concerned about losing his money. Update 1. 2 weeks post-meeting with Jake. Well, Reddit, things have escalated quickly. Xander is spiraling. After Jake dropped him, he scrambled to find another lawyer. Turns out my reputation precedes me. No reputable lawyer in town wants to go up against me, especially with the ironclad prenup and the mountain of evidence I have against him. He's resorted to hiring some bottom-of-the-barrel lawyer, a guy known for taking on lost causes. I almost feel sorry for the poor guy. Almost. Meanwhile, his mistress, Isabella, yes, I know her name now, is getting antsy. She's been calling and texting me, demanding I back off and leave Xander alone. She claims they're in love and that I'm ruining their happiness. I responded with a single screenshot of the prenup and haven't heard from her since. I guess reality is finally sinking in. She's not getting a rich husband after all. Update 2. 1 month post-meeting with Jake, the dumpster fire continues. Xander's lawyer tried to negotiate, offering me a smaller percentage of the business. I refused. I'm entitled to half, and I'm not settling for less. My lawyer, bless her soul, is having a field day with this case. It's almost too easy. Xander showed up at my door again, begging me to reconsider. He actually cried. He claimed he'd made a mistake, that he still loved me, that Isabella meant nothing to him. I laughed in his face. He's only worried about his money. He thinks I'm stupid enough to fall for his crocodile tears. Update 3. 2 months post-meeting with Jake. It's official. Reddit. The divorce is finalized. I got half the business as per the prenup. Xander is livid, but there's nothing he can do about it. He tried to offer me a buyout, but turns out he's not as liquid as he pretended to be. All those lavish gifts and trips for Isabella seem to have drained his accounts. Isabella dumped him. Shocker, I know. She realized he's not the wealthy businessman she thought he was. Karma's a beautiful thing. Update 4. 6 months post-divorce. Life is good. Reddit. Really good. My business, the half that used to be Xander's, is thriving. I hired a brilliant manager, and we're expanding rapidly. I bought a gorgeous new house, took a much-needed vacation, and I'm finally focusing on myself. I've started dating again, and I'm meeting some amazing people. Xander, on the other hand, is struggling. His business is failing. He lost key clients, made bad investments, and is rumored to be in serious debt. He's living in a small apartment, a far cry from the mansion we shared. He tried contacting me a few times, but I've blocked him on everything. I'm done with him and his drama. Update 5. 1 year post-divorce. This will probably be my final update. Xander's business went bankrupt. He lost everything. Last I heard, Isabella is back in the picture, but they're constantly fighting. They deserve each other. As for me, I'm thriving. My career is soaring. My personal life is fulfilling, and I'm happier than I've ever been. I learned a valuable lesson from all of this. Know your worth, ladies, and always get a prenup. Winking face.